Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Taking this thing apart. So as I take off this X brakes here, I'm going to go corner by corner and unscrew each corner to relieve the pressure, and just keep going around until I remove the entire thing, because this is, it does have kind of a spring loaded arm, so that if you unscrew one, it's going to kind of pop out. So just want to make sure you relieve the pressure on this evenly. And one other thing that I kind of forgot, and I didn't do it on this, but there's a little sticker on the top right screw, and I saw that somebody on a previous video, they were able to take it off with a razor blade. So if you want to kind of preserve that sticker, you can get a razor blade and take that off before you remove that top right screw. So yeah, it looks like we have a total of 4, 8, 10, 14 screws. So there's 8 here and then 6 surrounding. Let's go. Alright, got all the screws out. See, there's some pads getting stuck in there. So it looks like, from what I've been reading, is this section right here is where there's no thermal pad contacting here, and this is what I've read that can make a huge difference by adding one here. So we're going to add one here as well. Okay, so I went ahead and cut a 2mm pad for that strip where the right side of the VRAM heatsink kind of makes contact with these heat pipes right here. So this should give better contact for that heatsink to kind of dissipate some of that heat and lower the VRAM chips overall. And now I'm just going to go and clean off this kind of old thermal paste that we had here on the heatsink and the GPU. Alright, now that I got that all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and apply this thermal grizzly, the cryonaut thermal grease. So this one's rated pretty high, so hopefully this kind of lowers the GPU temps as well.
I think that should be good.
When you're putting this back on, you should be able to see those pins in there. It should line up, so just look at those when you're trying to put this back on. You should be able to line it up pretty good. Right here, I'm just kind of looking in here to see if those thermal pads are making contact. It looks like the one I added is making contact and the rest are making contact, so I think we should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and screw this in kind of the same way I took it out, where we don't screw one screw in fully, but kind of go around to screw the other screws in so that it'll tension properly. If you try to screw one screw in, you'll see that the opposite end's going to pop up and it's going to be difficult to screw it in. So just barely screw one corner in and start working your way around the corners. So that's it. That's the final screw. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in and do a couple of tests, see how this performs, the VRAM and the GPU temperature with that thermal paste, and then that one pad I added on the VRAM heatsink. So let's see if we see any improvement. Alright, so I went ahead and got the GPU in. Looks like booted up, didn't have any problems, so step one is success. So we're going to go ahead and run one of these mining softwares. We'll go ahead and start with T-Rex mining on 2 miners right now. But here you can see I got my settings, the core clock, -250, memory clock at 1200, and then power limit. So before I had to have my power limit at 60, otherwise the VRAM temperatures would kind of shoot up over 100. And right now I have it at 65 and looks like we're at about 90. So definitely seen improvement with just that pad and the thermal paste. And I think that pad probably did a pretty good job of bringing that down. So yeah, at 65, I'm at around 90, 70 mega hash, which is not great. Um, but I mean, if depending on how you want to run your VRAM, I mean, if you want to go up to the high 90s, we can crank that up and get a higher mega hash. Or if you kind of want to keep that VRAM temperature low at 90. I think the specs for this VRAM can run up to 96, 98, which is kind of the normal operating temperature. But it's kind of up to you if you want to let it run that high over the long run. So I just bumped the power limit up to 70, And you can see that the VRAM temperatures went up to 94 mega hash. It's up to 84, 85 almost. So yeah, you can see they're just bumping the power up those VRAMs. It's up to 96 now. And it's close to 85 mega hash, which is, I mean, 94, 96, that's kind of the upper range of where you want to be. Me personally, I want to be lower if I'm going to be doing this in the long run. So I think I am going to kind of move forward and kind of do the rest of the VRAM, the rest of the thermal pads under the VRAM, between the VRAM heatsink and the backplate. So yeah, I'll just monitor this for a minute and then we'll be on to the next step. So here I like to pull these little graphs out. If you just double click on anything in HW info, it'll give you a little graph. If you want to kind of use these to monitor, it's easier to kind of see visually the fluctuations over time. If you're monitoring, you're kind of still tweaking with your rig, and looks like we're up to 90, 92, 93 mega hash already. So it looks like it's probably stabilizing around there. So that's not bad. 92, 93. But you know, the VRAMs are still at about 96, which like I said, I'd want to see that come down if I'm going to be doing this kind of in the long run. So yeah, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to the next part where I'll remove the rest of those thermal pads and get them replaced. All right, so we're back again, and this time we're gonna go in and replace all the rest of the pads. The last time I did this, I replaced the pad that was connecting the VRAM heatsink to the main heatsink, those 5 heat pipes, and then I changed the thermal grease. So now we're gonna go ahead and fix the rest of the pads. Changing that, just that pad alone in the thermal grease, I think that saved me around 5 to 7 degrees on the VRAM already. So I think that was a pretty good change, but you know, if I'm gonna be kind of overclocking this thing completely for the maximum mining capability and keeping that VRAM down, so I can kind of ensure that, you know, that I get longevity out of the card also. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's go and replace that. It's kind of easier to turn on the side sometimes. So you can see this is kind of coming loose already. So I'll just lift it up. All right, so this is the one I just added right here. I actually put it here, but it looks like it came off over here. So I'm gonna leave that, but I'm gonna replace the rest of them and then get this new thermal grease on here. All right, so now I'm gonna take this heatsink off right here that connects to the back of the board. There should be 5 screws on here, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're gonna take these 5 screws off. Go. We're going to slide this down a bit. All right, so this is where we're going to replace. So we're going to put 3 millimeters here, 3 millimeters here, 3 millimeters here,
and then 3 millimeters right there also looks like it's stuck to the back. So 3 millimeters, and then these two are gonna be 0.5 millimeters. So those two 0.5 millimeters. So let's go ahead and get this. So I'm gonna replace this one. Real sticky stuff. Ooh. All right. All right, so there we go. We got the back on. Let's put this back on here.
Alright, now we're gonna get this heat sink off right here so we can get the backside. And so this is pretty much just held together by thermal pads also, but we just gotta kind of pry at it a little bit.
There you go. And there we go. All right.
So we're gonna put 2 millimeters right here, 2 millimeters over here, 2 millimeters up here, and then 2 millimeters. So all four surrounding the GPU are gonna be replaced with 2 millimeter thick thermal pads.
So let's go ahead and replace this one here. All right, I'm gonna replace this strip before I put it back on.
Alright, so I'm gonna replace this top one up here that's on the heatsink, and this one is gonna be a 0.5 millimeter.
Okay, I think this can go back on now. Okay. Alright, so I'm also going to replace this one here. I actually don't have enough to replace these two, which is why I'm not going to replace right now. So, but those aren't touching the RAM, so I think this one is probably the most crucial one to upgrade, since it is on the heatsink to the RAM, the VRAM at least. So we're going to replace this one with the 3mm. All right, I think that's it. So we replace all the VRAM under the heatsink. I replaced this earlier, and so the only thing that I have not changed that's stock is going to be this one here, and this one here. So I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I think replacing the VRAM is probably the most important, so I think we should maybe even see better results after. Yeah, it might be a little too much, but I guess better be safe than sorry. Check these. Looks like this isn't. I might have to replace those because those are actually falling off. Let's see what we got. All right, I think we should be good to go.
Alright, got the GPU back together, got it in my PC. So I got one of these T-Rex miner running, and so we're just testing the thermals. So I currently have kind of the same setup I had before with the core clock, the memory, and then the power limit at 60. You can see we're at about, was it 88? So yeah, we're fluctuating between about 86, 88 on the temperatures for the VRAM. And it's at about 94, 93 mega hash, which is not bad. I just bumped the power up to 75, and you can see the VRAM went up to about 90 mega hash, still about 95. So it's not bad. You know, the temperatures are pretty good. I think before I changed the last pads, when I was at about 75, I think temperatures were around 96, 90, yeah, probably around 96. The mega hash was around like 92, 93. So you can see the VRAM kind of jumping between 90 and 86. So definitely you can see an improvement of at least 6 degrees. We'll kind of see it normalize and see if it drops down. So one thing, we can also increase the fan speed and see what that does, just to kind of see how it, you can see how the temperature kind of dropped down 2 degrees right there from 88 to 86 just by increasing the fan. Um, and so yeah, we're kind of steady at about 86. So I did this overnight actually also on the new pads, and overnight it was probably consistently around 86, and that is actually with the case side panel on. So if I wanted to leave that side panel off, I could probably get this a little lower. But overall, I'm pretty happy mining at 86. I feel comfortable keeping it at that temp in the long run. So yeah, let me know what you guys think if you have any questions. Overall, I think it wasn't too difficult to replace the pads, and I think in the long run it'll kind of extend the life of my GPU. So highly recommend it.